Hello and welcome to the Tabletop Games blog topic discussion. Pattern matching pleasure. From Carcassonne to Looot. There are certain categories of games that I absolutely love. You will have heard about my recent escapades in the world of 18xx games, and the excitement of these types of games create for me. They offer me a good dose of brain training, while also being thematically enjoyable. Yet, there's another genre of games that I love: tile-laying games. So in this article I want to talk about these games a bit more and explain what I like about them so much. I guess the most well-known and absolutely classic game in the genre is, of course, Carcassonne. The game was first published in 2000 and won the Spiel des Jahres prize the following year. There are now many different versions of this fun family tile-laying game with countless expansions. You probably already know the rules, but let me tell you anyway. In Carcassonne you draw a square tile that has a combination of grass, roads, cities and monasteries on it. You place a tile so that the matching features line up. Roads have to connect to roads and city sections to other city sections. It's very visual and immediately obvious what you have to do. Once you've placed the tile, you can put one of your meeples on one of the features. When you complete a feature by, for example, having a fully enclosed city, you score points and take your meeple back. Carcassonne is one of the purest tile-laying pattern matching games out there. It's a great example of the genre and beautifully illustrates what I love about these games. It starts really simple. You usually have only one or two options where your tile fits. There's also usually no question that you want to place your meeple on one of the features. The decision you have to make on your turn is pretty simple and limited. Yet, as the map grows, you have more choices, and things soon get a lot more complex. You have a limited number of meeples, and you also need to consider if you place a tile to block an opponent, to get the opportunity to share in their points, or just do your own thing somewhere else. That's what makes this game so much fun. It's these types of games that I love. With such a classic evergreen title to lead the way, other games soon followed in its footsteps. Over 20 years later, the genre is still going strong. I think there are a lot of modern versions with interesting twists on the basic mechanisms. One of my recent favorites is Applejack. In this game, rather than being forced to place your tile adjacent to an existing one, and at the same time match the features, you can place your tiles on your orchard wherever you want. Additionally, tiles are hex-shaped rather than square, which does open up a lot more possibilities. Those two tweaks combined make for a much more thinky game. It doesn't take long for your brain to go into overdrive trying to figure out the best place for a tile to go. Add to that the fact that you have multiple tiles to choose from rather than just drawing the top one from the stack, and you can see how much different Carcassonne and Applejack are. The other difference is that it's a bit more of a multiplayer solitaire game. While you can take a tile someone else might want, you're usually more focused on what you need. You certainly have no way of blocking someone else, because you can only place tiles on your own board. Having to plan ahead and find the best spot for each tile is tricky. You also have a mini race against time because you want to have enough apples of a certain type before they are scored. There's a lot more pressure on everyone and it's easy to block yourself in if you're not careful. At least you only have yourself to blame. The clever tile-laying game Acropolis lifts the whole genre into the third dimension. In this game you don't just place tiles, which are basically three hexes stuck together next to each other, you actually stack them on top of each other, which gives you more points and more choices of which tiles you can choose from on your next turn. It's a really clever twist that not only makes the game literally stand out from the rest, but adds another set of decisions that make your brain work even harder than other games. Looot changes how you get your tiles. They are still hexes, but you have a map of different resources onto which you place your Viking worker meeples. You can only place them next to another Viking, one of yours or that of another player, which limits your choice a little bit. However, rather than always only getting a single tile, in Looot you can potentially get 3 or more. Where you place these is crucial. You want certain tiles to be next to others and create a pattern where multiple objective tiles have access to the same resources to be able to score them. It's a real brain burner, without being so overwhelming that you can't cope. It represents a good level of thinkiness that I feel is just right for me, even when I feel a little bit tired. As you can tell, the genre of tile-laying games where you try and match patterns has really exploded the last 2 decades. They all have something different to offer. They all scratch the same sort of itch for me. You need to figure out how best to arrange your tiles to get the most points while competing with others. I wonder what you think about tile-laying games like these. Have you played any of the ones I mentioned? How did you get on with them? Do you have a favourite? Are there any tile-laying pattern matching games that I haven't mentioned in this article? As always, please share thoughts and experiences on the blog at tabletopgamesblog.com. I'd love to hear what you think about the genre and maybe discover a game that's new to me.
Thank you for listening to this Tabletop Games blog topic discussion podcast. Please check the description below for links mentioned in this episode, as well as to the written version of this article on the blog. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, give us some stars or leave a review. Please also tell your friends about me, and if you want to offer financial support, check out my Patreon and Ko-fi pages, links to which you'll find in the blog at tabletopgamesblog.com. So thank you again for listening, and I hope to see you again soon.
This podcast was made possible by the generous help of my supporters. Royal Patron Sean Newman, Magic Champion John Risley, Castle Guards David Miller and James Naylor, Dice Masters Alex Bardi, Paul Grogan and Robin Kay, and Shining Lights Jacob Davis, Gavin Jones, Sarah Reed and Richard Simpson.